Today, we are diving into an epic, non-stop battle that's happening right now on coastlines all over the world. It's the land versus the sea, and it's a conflict that's forcing us to make some incredibly tough and very expensive decisions about how we protect our homes, our towns, and our way of life.
So it all really boils down to this one huge question. When the ocean is relentlessly chipping away at the shore, what can we actually do about it? It's a massive challenge, and it basically forces us to ask, do we stand and fight, or do we have to learn how to adapt?
Okay, so what are we actually talking about here? Well, the official term for this fight is coastal management. Think of it as the playbook of strategies that coastal authorities use to try and hold the line, slow down that erosion, and, keep people and property safe from the pretty awesome power of the sea.
And this playbook is really split into two very different philosophies. On one side, you've got hard engineering. This is the fortress approach, basically building massive structures to fight nature head-on. And on the other side, you have soft engineering, which is a much more collaborative approach, all about working with nature to get the job done.
Let's kick things off with the hard engineering route. This is all about constructing these huge, man-made structures that are designed to either absorb or deflect the immense energy of the waves before they can cause any real damage.
And the first thing you probably think of is the seawall. It's exactly what it sounds like, a solid, often concrete barrier between us and the ocean. Some of them even have a curve built into them to literally throw the wave's energy back out to sea, which makes them even more powerful.
And right away, you see the huge trade-off. Seawalls give you incredible protection, no doubt. They can even double as a nice walkway or promenade. But that protection comes at a staggering cost. We're talking thousands of pounds per meter. And let's be honest, they create this stark, unnatural barrier that totally changes the look and feel of a coastline.
Now for a slightly different tactic. You've got these things, gabions. Basically, they're just steel mesh cages packed really tightly with rocks. The whole idea is that when a wave crashes into them, the water can actually pass through all the little gaps, which slows it down and dissipates its energy, instead of just hitting a solid wall.
Now, they're a lot cheaper and way faster to build than a seawall. You can even grow plants on them to help them blend in. So what's the downside? Well, that steel mesh can rust and break apart, which is a real hazard. And in a truly massive storm, the whole thing can just get washed away.
You've almost certainly seen these before. They're those long wooden or stone fences that run from the shore straight out into the sea. These are called groins, and their job isn't really to stop waves directly, but to interrupt a natural process called longshore drift, which is just the constant movement of sand and sediment along the coast.
So, the big idea here is that by trapping all that moving sand, groins build up a much wider, more natural beach. And that beach then acts as a natural buffer. But, and this is a big but, by trapping sand in one spot, you're basically starving the beaches further down the coast, which can make erosion there way, way worse. All right, one last hard engineering example for you. Rock armor, sometimes called riprap. The strategy here is brilliantly simple. You just pile up massive, heavy boulders at the bottom of a cliff or right along the shoreline. The sheer weight and mass of the rocks just soaks up the wave energy.
And it is super effective. I mean, those huge boulders aren't going anywhere. But they can make it really hard to actually get onto the beach. They can look pretty ugly and trap a lot of litter. And as you can probably imagine, hauling multi-ton rocks to the site is incredibly expensive.
Okay, so that's the build a fortress approach. Now, let's flip over to the other side of the coin, the soft engineering philosophy. Instead of fighting nature, this is all about finding ways to partner with it.
A perfect example of this is beach nourishment. This means literally adding more sand or shingle to a beach, often dredged up from the seabed, to replace everything that's been washed away. It's usually paired with what's called reprofiling, which is just using bulldozers to reshape the beach into a better, more defensive angle.
The big win here is that you get to keep a beautiful, natural, totally usable beach for a lower initial cost. The catch? This isn't a one-and-done fix. It's kind of like a subscription service for your coastline. You have to keep doing it, sometimes several times a year, to make sure it stays effective.
Another fantastic soft strategy is dune regeneration. Sand dunes are basically nature's seawalls. By planting things like marram grass, whose roots are amazing at binding sand together, we can help build up and stabilize these natural barriers, making them taller, wider, and a whole lot stronger.
This is a really low-cost, long-term solution that's also great for creating wildlife habitats. But it takes time, a lot of time, and the dunes themselves are pretty fragile. Just a few people carelessly walking over the grass can undo years of hard work.
So, we've seen the two playbooks. Now let's put them head to head and really dig into the fundamental trade-offs you have to make when you're deciding how to defend a stretch of coastline.
It all really comes down to this core conflict. Hard engineering is about resistance. It gives you immediate, powerful protection, but it's also really expensive and has a huge impact on the environment. Soft engineering, on the other hand, is about collaboration. It's an ongoing, more sustainable process, but it's often a lot slower and the results can be less certain.
And all of this leads to a really crucial question about what we do next. Given all these pros and cons, what's the right path forward? How do we possibly balance protection, cost, and the environment?
Well, it turns out it's rarely a simple choice between one or the other. The most effective strategies usually create a kind of hybrid system, using a smart mix of both hard and soft techniques that are specifically tailored to what that particular bit of coast needs.
But there is one more strategy we need to talk about, and honestly, it's a radical one: managed retreat. Now, technically, it's a soft approach, but it completely flips the script. Instead of asking, how do we stop the sea, it starts asking, what if, in some places, we just let the sea win?
Now, doing this can save an absolutely enormous amount of money compared to building hard defenses, and it can create natural buffer zones like salt marshes that protect land further inland. But the human cost is immense. It means abandoning land, relocating entire communities, and it inevitably leads to huge conflicts over whose home, whose farm is going to be sacrificed for the greater good. And that leaves us with this final, really challenging question. As our climate changes and sea levels keep rising, the pressure on our coastlines is only going to get more intense. And the choice we face is whether we should double down on building bigger and bigger walls to hold the line at all costs, or if we need to start learning the very difficult art of letting go.